A new Pokemon game has just come out in Australia, and I figured since I come from the land down under, I would talk about it today. That's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about Pokemon Rumble Rush. Now, it is a mobile game, and if you've been following the Pokemon company recently, you kind of realize that, well, they have been going down a very dark track. They've been lured over to the dark side, and I think they're pretty happy about it, to be perfectly honest. Now, as long as they stay away from Pokemon Snap, they can take whatever they want to mobile. And the mainline series. I like the mainline series. Now, my biggest question going into this was, well, I like the Pokemon Rumble series, and since this is another one of them, what are they going to do when they take this over to mobile? It turns out they turned it into a cow and they are milking it for all it's worth. It's not great. It's not that bad either, but compared to what Pokemon Rumble was, it is a shell of its former self. Now, if you've never played a Pokemon Rumble game before, you're about to find out what it's like, and if you have played it, this one's a little bit different from what the old games were. A lot is because it's now on mobile, but we'll get into it. Let's start off by being clear about what the free-to-play aspect to this game is, because obviously it's a free-to-play game. They need some sort of hook in there to grab you and never let you go again. The hook for this one is the waiting game. You're going to be playing a lot of the waiting game, and if you want to speed that waiting game up, you're going to be paying. We're going to come back to that though, because I feel like we need to know what the core gameplay is before we can start getting our jimmies and all rustled up about the free-to-play aspects. The core gameplay of Pokemon Rumble Rush is just an action game. You're going to rock up on a level, you're going to throw a Pokemon out of a hot air balloon, and then you're going to fight your way up a very linear path to a boss, defeat the boss, you're done. Fighting your way up to that boss and even defeating that boss is really short, like only 40 seconds to a minute. Some of the levels were taking me to complete, so as you can see, it's not going to take you that long to do each level, and then you're just going to go into the next level, and 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 the next level. Now, you don't control your Pokemon's movement either. They just auto-walk up to the end and auto-walk up to any Pokemon that they have to battle. All you do is tap on the screen to do like a light attack. You can hold on the screen to build up and do a heavy attack, or you can swipe side to side and you'll just like do a dodge out of the way. I like to think of it as a chibi Muso game. It's basically they're going to throw a bunch of enemies at you and you're just going to like do big attacks and wipe them all out as you wipe your way up to the boss. I'm definitely making it sound more exciting than it actually is. All these Pokemon that you're defeating on the way up there as well, they just have a random chance to drop themselves so that you can capture them and use them to battle with yourself. And as you would expect, these Pokemon all have their own like CP level, in other words like stats or levels, and how strong they are, and different moves that they can use, and the moves have a little bit of variety, although don't expect too much from these moves. There's some that are just like physical attacks, some surrounding ones, some with a little bit of range. There's not a huge variety here. And each Pokemon will only have one move to play around with. You access these levels through a world map, and this world map is kind of like let's call it an event. So at the moment there's a Charizard Sea event running, and so that is where you're going to do all your levels. And there's a tutorial one that you'll do before that. You're going to choose random locations on this map, which will decide what area that you're doing when you run through a level. And then the idea of running through these levels and defeating Pokemon, hopefully capturing them, is that you're working your way up to defeating a boss. I'm not talking about the boss at the end of a level, I'm talking about a boss level itself. On the world map, you see a strip of Pokemon down the bottom, and they're all the bosses that you're going to work your way to defeating. These bosses will have requirements, like you'll need a certain CP Pokemon to be able to challenge it, or maybe you'll need like a certain amount of Pokemon to be able to challenge it, or maybe both. And then once you meet that requirement, you can do the level, which is just a boss level. It doesn't have the lead up to the boss, it's just do the boss in a time limit. And then once you beat that boss, you unlock more locations and more Pokemon, and you'll fight your way through to more levels to be able to defeat the next boss, and you'll rinse and repeat until your life is a meaningless husk that every free-to-play mobile game will make you. Although, this island does actually have an end, and I've heard someone reached it in a day, so take that. Now that we have that core gameplay loop of do levels, catch Pokemon, defeat bosses, do levels, catch Pokemon, defeat bosses, that's out of the way, we can kind of return to the hub area. Return. And by return, I mean we can talk about the hub area for the first time. If you can call it a hub area, it's actually kind of bare bones. There are three main options here. Now, there's the Pokemon and Gears, which we'll get into in a second. There is your adventure, which is what we just talked about. That's going around the map, doing the stuff. Let's not repeat it again. And then there is the ore section. You see, every time that you go out to that map and defeat a boss, that boss has a chance to drop one of these precious ores. These ores can take anywhere from like half an hour to 10 hours to hatch or refine is what they call it. And once it's refined, it will drop for you these things called gears. Because they love to put terms on everything, it makes it confusing, but think about these gears as equipment. So some of these gears will just increase your Pokemon's damage, and some of them will do other stuff as well. It's like, there's even gears that will literally give you a side Pokemon that you can summon in battle. Now, you can speed up these ores at the cost of cha-ching money. Okay, the money comes in a second. There are, first of all, tickets that you get for like doing daily logins, and that will speed it up by a little bit, like an hour for every ticket, and you get several tickets for logging in daily. That's why they keep you coming back. You see where I'm going here with this. Then there's also diamonds. Now these diamonds are collected through doing different challenges that they set you to do, as well as the key way that you're going to get these is by paying the money. I'm not going to go into the prices here because it's all in Australian, but let's just say the prices ain't great. There is other stuff that you can buy with this money too. Like you can buy more ore slots because you only have 3 and only one of them can process an ore at a time. So you can pay to like get another ore slot so it's working for you. However, they're like daily or like maybe 3 days that you unlock it for by paying, and then you gotta pay again. So as you can see, the claws, the hooks, I'd call them claws because they really dig into you and they want that money. Lastly here, there is like a boss rush mode that I'm not sure how to earn more boss rushes. Maybe it's just like a daily thing or something like that, but there is like a little bit extra you can do there from the main menu. And there's these small interactions that you seem to be able to have with other players. Like at one point I could click on an air balloon while I was on the world map, and I could have another player join me going through here. They're not actually with me though. It's just their Pokemon that they chose is going to be like following me around. It's not actually us playing together. It's not multiplayer. Now, I have to be honest here, I don't normally play a lot of mobile games. I try the Nintendo ones out because I have a curiosity in the company and I like to know what's going on with their products and whether it be mobile or whatever. And I've got to say, like after just diving into this one, it just feels like, and I get this from any mobile game that I've kind of tried in the past, there are exceptions and I definitely don't want to just like attack every single mobile game out there. But I just find like, especially with this type of model, that it is just there to simply strip the soul out of a game so that they can strip the money out of you. And that's how this feels. It feels like they took the Pokemon Rumble, which like, it wasn't a huge Pokemon game in the first place. Like it was just a decent, kind of like a cheap game that you'd pick up and have fun playing through. It feels like they took that model, that cheap little fun game that I enjoyed, and they stripped it down to nothing and said, all right, here, tap your way through these levels. You don't have much interaction, and when you do, it just feels like you're just going back in there to get another Pokemon so you can do the next level to get another Pokemon, and so that they can lock stuff behind money so that you have to pay. And I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Not to say that you can't check this out. I mean, when it comes worldwide, I'm sure that a lot of you would like to just dive in there just to see what it's like. But yeah, this was kind of here to help temper some expectations so you know what you're getting into with this Pokemon Rumble game, and don't expect a Pokemon Rumble game. I mean, at its core it looks like it, but at its soul it is nothing. Ooh, that was deep. Now for more deep and meaningful Pokemon chat, make sure to subscribe to a channel that does lots of deep and meaningful Pokemon stuff. But for more fun and Nintendo entertainment, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, be very much appreciated. And for great Nintendo entertainment, you can count on me. For today's end screen, let's talk about why I don't talk about Pokemon much on the channel. Well, one, there hasn't been a whole lot to talk about apart from like that Pokemon Direct. But two is that the last time I called myself a hardcore Pokemon fan was back when like Red and Blue were a thing. Like I love those old games, but like since then I enjoy the games, but I haven't really dived deep into them. And so when it comes to talking about it on YouTube, there's so many like great PokeTubers out there that I'm just like, okay, I don't need to throw my opinions in with these people who really know what they're talking about compared to some guy who doesn't know much about what he's talking about. Stuff like this I can have some fun with and we can talk about, but I feel like with the deep and meaningful Pokemon stuff, it's just not something that I can do deeper. It doesn't mean I won't talk about it in the future. It just means that I don't just take every opportunity I can to talk about it. And that's going to do it for today. So, goodbye.